Hello there, and welcome back to some more the Binding of Isaac Rebirth. So unfortunately this is gonna be post-commentary. I actually recorded the entire session commentating like I normally do, and then after I started editing I realized, wow, I had actually not turned on my microphone. So this is gonna be me watching over what's actually going on. So at this point, talking a little bit about what's actually going on with the various characters, and we decided to play as Isaac because, well, we want to beat all the bosses with all the various classes or characters in order to unlock everything. And in particular, we haven't actually done that with Isaac because Isaac was the first character we used, and we only actually beat Mom with him. So yeah, be prepared for me standing still a lot, talking about what's going on probably, but then actually not being able to hear what I'm actually talking about here. It's also super sad because I end up getting, spoilers, sorry, very excited during the course of this video. So the first item we get is the common cold, which deals poison damage. So you can tell from our tears that every now and then a tear is green, and supposedly that infects the enemy with poison, which means that they take damage over time. Nicalis, your feet feel stronger. I am at this point in the game, I'm not completely sure what this thing actually does, but I realized a little bit later that we can actually use it to walk on spikes, and also to walk on like the creep stuff that some enemies put on the floor that will normally damage you when you touch it. So it's actually a little bit interesting to watch this video again to see how many times I actually don't use that to its full advantage. So the first boss is Famine. Famine is easy enough. Let's just enjoy the boss fight. And some coffee. That's a cool thing. Normally when you play Isaac, when you're on a boss fight, you're actually not able to enjoy coffee while you're playing, because you're playing. You have to wait until you move on to the next floor. And even then, it's barely even possible, because you can just take your time, sit back and relax, enjoy all of the coffee. So of course this is the annoying version of Famine. Famine is blue here, which means that he charges the entire time, essentially. That makes him a lot more difficult to hit. But other than that, the battle is going as it should. No damage taken, and we get a ball of bandages. Actually, still not quite sure what that thing does. It revolves around us. I imagine it soaks up like shots from enemies, but I'm not entirely sure. Just looking at the map to see if we forgot something, and I don't think we did. That's also a cool thing about doing this thing first. Now I can actually see how many places I actually screwed up. One thing I realized is that I think the clock that we sometimes see in between levels, I think that has something to do with a certain timed bonus that you can get from killing Mom super fast. I'm not sure about the details, but as far as I've heard, it's something like if you beat Mom in less than 20 minutes maybe, you actually get some kind of bonus out. So of course that's never gonna happen the way I play, because I play it super slowly and try to min-max everything. Unfortunately, at this point, we would of course like to go to our item room, but we do not have any keys. So hopefully we'll be able to find some of those. This room is fairly simple. Notice the tinted rock on the left side of the room. It has a light bluish tint and a little cross on it, marking that if we can blow that up, then we should. And there we go. Contains a golden chest which we cannot open up because we don't have any keys. There's another tinted rock though. Even easier to see actually because of the lighting. This is kind of an annoying room because remember that the red fire shoots projectiles at you every now and then, which is annoying. But it's not too bad. Of course, as you saw, I just got an email right there, so I need to actually go and sort that out, because we don't want emails messing up our interface. And I also don't want you to read my emails. That's another reason. So we get rusted key here. So I'm thinking, should I pick this up? As far as I know, Rusted Key gives us more keys. But at this point I'm sort of contemplating what this Your Feet Feel Stronger thing actually covers. And I end up taking a Rusted Key into the Monstro boss fight, just in case we would actually get a key from that boss fight. That would be fantastic. Because again, we don't have any keys and we want to go to our item rooms. Otherwise we're probably just gonna lose the game immediately. So my idea is to pick up the other trinket again afterwards. Monster is super simple though. Get him poisoned, run away, circular dodging whenever he fires. Generally a little bit of a walkover. So one thing you'll probably notice is my commentary is going to be a little bit more disjointed as I do this post, because I can't actually talk as much about what my ideas behind my dodging patterns and all that kind of stuff is. But hopefully that's not gonna be a concern to anybody who's watching this. Hero Fund is great, gives us 2 soul hearts. Box in general is pretty useful, but not the best item in the game. Faith up. I don't actually know what Faith does in this game yet, but I figured that it's maybe not very good. We also get our first Devil Room, which is fantastic. And here I'm contemplating, should I take these things? Because Gimpy we've had before. Gimpy, if I understand it correctly anyway, is the thing that gives you soul hearts when you take damage. But the times we've had it, it actually doesn't drop all that many. So, I mean, getting it early, though, is crucial to actually make it good. The thing on the left side is Contract from Below. I have had that before, but I'm not quite sure what it means. Yeah. So I end up picking up both of them, just because why not? One thing that's also worth mentioning at this point is that we unlock the negative, which is sort of like the Polaroid in vanilla. And the way the Polaroid works in vanilla is that if you take damage while you have less than or equal to half a red heart, then you actually gain invincibility. So in that sense, it makes sense to get rid of all of your red hearts before you reach the end game. And now that we've I haven't done that so far because we haven't actually unlocked the Polaroid. Here we get Cricket's Head, which is a straight damage up, which is fantastic. So I haven't actually unlocked the Polaroid. What do we actually get in here? I forget. We get a Goat Head, which I believe means that we get more Devil Rooms. So great. To try to actually finish my sentence. Too much stuff happening. Tears Down is terrible. So we haven't unlocked the Polaroid, so I haven't actually made use of that yet to try to really get rid of my red hearts. But we have unlocked the negative, which I imagine carries a similar kind of feature to it. But yeah, not sure if it actually works that way. Just to say that in some cases you actually want to get rid of your red hearts. So this is a little bit annoying because the spikes push the bombs around, and I really want to get that Tinted Rock. And it works. And then I take damage. And I only get a single bomb out, so that's not worth it at all. And I made the room a lot more difficult. So at this point, yeah, there's actually also a Tinted Rock there. I didn't even notice before. We get another Soul Heart. Soul Hearts are very useful. So as you can tell from my general gameplay, I tend to not really use red hearts all that often actually. Rather just try to get really buffed on soul hearts instead. And only use the red hearts to take deals with the devil and stuff like that. On to the third floor, still on time. And still coffee in the cup. Another cool thing is now I can actually pour new coffee while I'm watching. That's not something I have enough hands to do ordinarily. I'm not actually sure why I forgot to record sound on this. I normally check all of my meters before I start recording, but I must have simply forgotten on this particular one. This room should be pretty simple. These guys are a little bit tanky, which makes them more difficult, and they create this creep on the ground. So I realize now that I would not have actually taken damage if I walk on the creep, but that's not something I realize here. I could have probably saved myself from taking a little bit of damage if I hadn't known that that would be the case. A little curious what's gonna happen on this room, because I was curious when I was playing and I wasn't actually sure what was going on. Right, I take damage, and then for whatever reason, that mushroom blew up. Do I have an item that does that? I don't even know. It's a little strange to me. This is a super annoying room only because there are so many enemies. Thankfully you can go all the way around, otherwise I would have been trapped by all the bats there. What does it actually say in the middle? Plus equals plus. That's not incorrect. Have to give the game that. So again, a golden chest which we will not be able to actually open. So it's a little bit annoying at this point that I'm so low on keys, because keys are what you need to get into item rooms, and item rooms are what you need to actually become better and prepared for the end game. So hopefully we will be able to find some of those. Poison damage is really useful here because it appears to damage all of the various joints of the enemy at once. Even though that, in this case, only took off one part of the enemy. But it looks like it should be good. And there are some keys. That's fantastic. Now we can go to our item room. And in principle also open up our golden chest. Which I won't. Because I want to save my key for something else. So here we get sad onion. Sad onion, I believe doubled your tears maybe. So that's really good. Also notice there's a tinted rug in here. So unfortunately our tears are a little low at the moment. So I believe sad onion gets better the higher your tears are to begin with. If it is in fact just a doubling. So hopefully we'll get some more tears ups later in the game. These guys are pretty simple. Even more keys. We are super slow as well, that's a little bit annoying. So a few speed upgrades would also come in very handy. I was hoping here that those green dudes would actually blow up the dingles, but apparently not. Also, it's worth mentioning that we're in Catacombs here, which is the more difficult version of... yeah, I'm actually checking that right now because I'm probably curious about the same thing. We're on the Catacombs, which is the more difficult version of the caves. I don't think the green dudes actually even spawn on the caves. Something here, let's min-max a little bit, because it would be silly to shoot that poop, right? Because there's a petrified poop over here. Remember, the petrified poop means that we get more drops from poop. So we do get a single penny here. That is not enough to actually conclude anything. But it might mean that maybe we got another penny that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten. I'm not sure why I brought up the map there. Maybe just to multitask a little bit more. I'm a little bit scared at this point in the game because I really don't have a lot of health. Like if for instance this is Dingle in the boss room, then I'm likely to die. Because Dingle is difficult and has more than once dealt more than 3 pieces of damage to me. Is there anything that can help us here? I would like to go to the curse room, but that would just put us even in an even worse position, so I'm just gonna have to try it out. The husk is not too bad. It does seem like this is a champion version of the husk who's a lot faster. You can tell from the red tint. But then also on the other hand, it seems like he has a lot less HP. This at least is going very well. It could also just be the cricket's head. The damage up that we got is super useful. So I'm pondering here how to proceed. I of course want to go into the devil room because those are always good. Or are they? Because here we fight Krampus, and Krampus is actually not all that easy. in particular, I could easily die. I do have the Two of Hearts card, which doubles your health, and it also means that if I use the Two of Hearts card while I'm in 1 health, that doubles my health to 2 health. But I think if I if I use it, even though I only have half a heart, it's actually gonna give me 2 hearts, so that it more than doubles in that case. So I guess you would say that it gives you the maximum of double of your health or 2 hearts. So this is a new item. This is the Head of Krampus, Krampus Rage. So I'm pondering at this point what it actually does. I figured that it's probably an aggressive item, so I don't want to use it until I see combat again. So let me just spoil it. It gives you 1 of Krampus's attacks. I'm actually pondering about that in the game. If it gives you 1 of Krampus's attacks, and if it does so, which one of them it actually is. So that's something we'll test out if we meet some more combat. At this point I'm just gonna go back to our curse room, because we have a lot of health lying around, and there's not really any reason not to do it. Other than, I guess, if you really want to speedrun the game, it seems like there might be an added benefit to doing that. So, of course, that's not something I'm doing. And also, in here we get the mark, which is a damage up, and it gives you 1 soul heart, and it might also be either a tears up or a speed up. I think we're still as slow as we were before, so if it's one of those, it's a tears up. I'm not entirely certain. Unfortunately, we lose 1/2 of our soul heart immediately, but that's still better than not getting it. And also, I think maybe I realized at this point that I could walk into the shop, but I want to get some more cash before doing so, because normally you want to have 15 cents. And so, of course, I get a penny here, and that takes me over 15 cents, so that's fantastic. And here I use Krampus Rage for the first time. Shoots all 4 directions, and fires a brimstone kind of shot. I'm not sure how the damage compares to brimstone, but I believe it scales with your own damage. At least that's the idea I get later on in the run. It should also be mentioned that you can apparently always get around 4 cents from the donation machine in the shop, so that actually you don't need to get over 15 cents. 11 is probably enough. But in this particular case I'm at 17 now, so there's no reason not to go in there. I forget what we find actually. Non-sabbat. Non-sabbat is great. It means that every time we take damage, we gain charges on our spacebar item. I'm not sure how many charges. I think in Vanilla Isaac it would always give you like half of all the charges. But in this particular case with the Head of Krampus, it only gives you 1 charge. But still though, that's pretty good. It's it seems like Head of Krampus is super nice, and spacebar items in general are super nice, so better have some more of those. So we're way behind the clock now. So here's Lust. We're fast enough to deal with Lust. The main thing that's concerning about her is that if she's faster than you, then you might end up in a bad position. But also our damage is incredible at this point already. Speed down, obviously not something very good. So I take some time here to look for marked rocks. Because marked rocks are good. Again, at this point I don't know that I can just walk on the creep. Even though that would have made rooms like these and similar ones a lot easier. So I'm very much considering whether or not I should ditch Nicalis, because it doesn't seem to do all that much for us at this point. Nicalis being the trinket that we have. So here I actually get a chance to try it out for the first time. So I have an idea that probably if I walk on the spikes I'm not going to take damage. But I'm a little hesitant to test it, because if I do, then I'm going to lose the soul heart. And here we get a much better chance to test it. If we walk on those, we don't take damage. I'm not sure why I walked on the top ones first. But yeah, that means that we get Harlequin Baby for free. So this is actually a very good room. Like just a free item if you can either fly or if you're willing to take some damage. It's essentially like a deal with the devil. So here I just cleared the entire room with Head of Krampus, and I begin to realize like just how amazing the spacebar item actually is. Because it's a 3-room charge, So you should compare it with something like the Book of Belial, which also has the 3 room charge and makes you more strong on that room. But I mean, if we can just clear a room entirely, if we can clear every 3rd room without actually doing anything, that's absolutely fantastic. So I'm pondering whether or not I should just use it on ordinary rooms, or if it's also worth it to use on boss fights, because, you know, boss fights, you're usually dealing with single target enemies, and since you're kind of having this 4-directional shot, maybe it's actually better to use on ordinary rooms where you can deal damage to more enemies at once. So because of non-sabot, we just got a full charge on the head of Krampus there. And now I'm thinking, why don't we go back and test out the room that we totally forgot about before. And I even forgot about it the second time around as well. So normally you need to walk on it some 3-4 times and then it gives you a chest, but in this particular case it really seems like it does nothing. I don't think it's the same thing in Vanilla Isaac. If you can fly, for instance, and you fly over those spikes, nothing actually happens, so that room becomes functionally useless. Except in Rebirth, oftentimes you'll find a soul heart or a red heart in there, so there is some point to it. So even though our health is still super low, things are beginning to shape up a little bit. I think we're in a better position now than we were on at the same time on the previous floor. So I'm gonna rush the bomb here, or rush the boss here, because I have read a head of Krampus fully charged. Am I not? I think I am. That would be the correct decision anyway. So Hollow is of course a perfect enemy to test this against. And there we go. We get another Devil Room, and the speed upgrade that I was longing for before, and another Soul Heart, which I'll take because if there's a 2-heart deal with the Devil here, I would want to be able to buy it. So I'm pondering here, this is 9 lives. 9 lives sets your heart containers to 1, the number of heart containers to 1, but it also gives you 9 lives. So the 9 lives are not all that useful in themselves, but what is really useful about this item is that it's a copy item. So the more copy items that you can get, the closer you come to actually becoming copy. So I decided to actually pick it up. In particular because if I only have 2 hearts, then the detrimental effect, normally the detrimental effect of it setting your heart containers to 1 is not actually all that bad. Here's Mom's Bra. It's a 3-room charge, and it fears enemies in that room. Makes them not shoot as well, as part of the fear, I think. So it's pretty useful, in particular together with non-sabot, because then you can use it several times on a difficult room. But I'm thinking at this point, Head of Krampus, it apparently one-shots bosses, so why don't we keep that? That seems pretty awesome. Now we can also go into the boss challenge room, potentially get something good. I should pick up that soul heart. I'm not sure why I don't. Because I want to protect the black hearts if possible. Big Fatty is a super annoying boss because of his fast jump. The other attacks that he has don't seem all that scary. It's really just a fast jump, because you really need to either constantly be on the move or react super quickly. So I think without the speed upgrade that I just got from the boss room, I would have probably taken some more damage here. Again, I don't know that I can just walk on the creep, which would have made this a whole lot easier. That empty might coffee. Really good stuff. Of course, not local coffee, but locally burned somehow. So it should be fresher. I don't know. It's pretty good anyway. So I'm thinking let's take the ordinary chest before the red chest, because the red chest sometimes teleport you out and then it would be annoying. So, yeah. So we get a few soul hearts. That's pretty good. And a bunch of money. So, again, now we can actually go to our shop. I forget if I do so. I think I do. Looks like I'm on the way to the shop. And that's a correct decision, because even if I don't have 15 cents, I can easily get 15 cents in there. And turns out that that's a Steam sale. Steam sale lowers the price on all items. And here it was actually on sale itself. So I think in a previous episode I said that it would halve the price of the item and then round down. That's obviously not quite true, because it turns 15 cents items into 7 cent items. So in that case it is true, but for 3 and 5 cent items, it actually rounds down. Or sorry, it actually halves and then rounds up. So I have lied to you, internet. And I'm very sorry. People who lie on the internet are the worst kind of people. Also, some dictators in history have been pretty bad people without lying on the internet. So you should count those as well. But outside of that, I think the statement is pretty close to true. So I'm getting more and more confident here. The only thing that's kind of a problem at the moment is that we have no way of really regenerating our health. The only thing that we have is this 2 of hearts card, which gets worse and worse. Because I lose more and more red heart containers. So here I'm just looking for marked rocks. It's a little annoying that you have to do that. And I guess you don't have to do that, but it sure makes your game a lot easier if you actually manage to find them, because soul hearts, very useful in this game. So I'm a little surprised at this point that there's only actually one hand in this room. So I have Head of Krampus again, thinking let's try to use that. It's probably a little bit of a waste to use it on this room because this room is fairly simple. Here we get the Faith up, and I'm not sure what that actually does. And what's a little silly about this is that I decide to take Nicalis instead, but I don't pick up that 1 penny. Here we get Mulligan, which means that when we deal damage to enemies, okay, I do actually take the cent, but I take it in the most silly way possible, given that I could just walk over the spikes. So the Mulligan means that when we deal damage to enemies, we always, or at least have a chance to spawn flies, and flies deal, in Vanilla Isaac, double your damage. Flies are, generally speaking, pretty damn useful. So it's almost like becoming Guppy, except I think we spawn a little less flies with Mulligan than with Guppy, and also we cannot fly. So becoming Guppy is at least strictly better no matter what. It's also kind of an annoying room, in particular because of all the jumpers. I should probably just use my Head of Krampus here to make it simpler. The most annoying thing is that since the room is so big, it's a little difficult to tell which enemies are actually jumping towards you. So you need to pay really close attention to the shadows, and even then that's probably not gonna be enough because they move so quickly that it's gonna be tough to react in time. So yeah, probably a Head of Krampus worthy room right here. Again, just looking for marked rocks. This is a free bomb, nothing to complain about there. And a fairly good offer for an ordinary challenge room. In particular because we have Head of Krampus ready. So I'm thinking which phase should I actually use it on. Probably not the zombies here, because the zombies are pretty straightforward. I think the zombies now charge you, and they don't in the ordinary Isaac. If you shoot them, they will face you always. But in this, in Rebirth, it seems like they actually do speed up a little bit and then do not change directions. So I think that makes the zombies a little bit easier because it makes them more predictable in their patterns. I'm thinking these guys seem super annoying, so why don't we just use Head of Krampus against those? And on we go. So I took some stupid damage there. This is a little unfortunate, in particular because I still have no way of regenerating it. This is also kind of a tricky room, very catacombsy. I'm getting a little bit unlucky. Wait, this is not catacombs, this is actually Necropolis, isn't it? I wish that I was actually playing the game so I could bring up the map. This is a very Head of Krampus worthy room. But then I'm thinking maybe I'm getting a little bit too close to my boss now, so maybe it was a little unfortunate that I actually used Head of Krampus. Also could have been useful against Greed, because I imagine it probably one-shots him as well. We're dealing so much damage at this point. A little unfortunate that we don't get to use our Steam sale proficiently here. That we actually only get a Greed fight. Again, a super simple room, and here I feel a little silly for actually using Head of Krampus, because I would have much rather wanted to have that for the boss fight. But I have a few rooms remaining on the floor, so I can just go back and recharge it. Backtracking, always fun. Crucial part of the game as well. So I do take some silly damage on this boss, or on this fight, which means that the Head of Krampus is actually charged. So if I wanted to, I could go to the boss fight the boss, then go back and get one more free charge on the Head of Krampus. But I'm thinking that, and here I realize my mistake from before. I'm thinking that maybe one charge on the Head of Krampus is not gonna be what means if we're gonna lose or win this run, so I'm not actually gonna bother too much. Again, I'm considering actually taking the other trinket instead, but I'm gonna go with Nicalis. Fairly concentration demanding room, this one, because you want to really make sure that you're away from the green sword shots, because those have a fairly big radius or area of effect. Other than that, it's a simple enough room. But yeah, not having the mobility is sometimes a problem. We got a chest for free. Contains a pill, which is range down. Our pills in this run are all terrible. Which can often make a fairly big difference here, just considering why did I pick up the key? Oh right, because I cannot fly. And for some reason I don't walk over the spikes, even though at this point I know that I can. It feels weird to walk over spikes when you're not flying. So it's probably just a psychological thing. So now I'm just going back, thinking we didn't miss anything on this floor, did we? I don't think that we did. So let's look for the secret room, and I'm super lucky to actually find it on my first try. At this point, since we only have one shop left in the game, and since we have the Steam sale, I'm thinking there's no reason not to go crazy on the slot machine. The slot machine can give you some good stuff. Mainly here I'm looking for soul hearts. It seems to be wanting to give us pills instead, even though our pills are generally pretty bad. And this pill, what does that do? It's locked down, so that's also pretty bad. Do find a tinted rock up there though, so that's a free soul heart. Soul heart's really the most important thing at this point in the game, because our damage is already good enough. We just want to make sure that we don't end up dying by some kind of silly mistake. Lock up is actually, I guess, a good pill. I think what lock does is it gives you more payouts on, for instance, slot machines. I'm not entirely sure. So, on to the boss fight. Looking forward to once again trying to see what Krampus' head actually does. In particular against the bloat, because the bloat is super annoying. So, apparently, Head of Krampus also one-shots bloat, which is ridiculous, because the bloat is fairly tanky. No mark rocks, it seems. So this is a tough one. Pentagram is good, it's a straight damage up. Infected Baby is good, it spawns a bunch of flies, but it's worth one, like my remaining one heart. I don't think it is, but I don't remember what the thing on the left does. So my logic is that since I don't know what it does, maybe it's good, so therefore I should pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. It's missing page 2, we actually had that before. So it gives us some black hearts, and it means that our enemies will pay, which I don't know what does. I'm thinking that maybe it means that enemies drop more gold, in which case it's not very good. But yeah, I'm not sure. So maybe we just effectively traded a red heart for a black heart. Which is useful in some situations, but generally speaking, of course not all of them. This is an easy room since we can walk on spikes. And this is a super annoying room. I'm happy that there are those small gaps so that the masks cannot actually see me, otherwise this would have been ridiculously annoying. Again, Necropolis, the difficult version of the floor. So the game is not too nice to us on this run, even though we're getting some really good items. Pretty straightforward floor. I'm considering using Head of Krampus, but there's not really any reason to here. Instead, what I will do is find some more coffee. I need more coffee, obviously. Find some more coffee for myself, while I fight some enemies in the background. There we go. Delicious. And yeah, of course I don't want to go into the boss fight just yet because I'm on Nicalis 2 and I cannot actually get out of the boss fight again if I go in there. Unless I can teleport somehow. Again though, Head of Cramp is doing some really good work. So even though in the beginning I was a little hesitant to be too confident about whether or not I was gonna keep Head of Krampus, at this point I'm sure that I will. But again, the thing is, I think Head of Krampus lasers actually scale with our damage. At this point I'm thinking, is this a boss room? Or is it an ordinary boss room? So I'm thinking, if it's a boss room, I want to get another charge on the Head of Krampus first. So yeah, I think it scales with our damage. Which means that maybe it's not as good always as it is in this case, because our base damage is already fairly high here. We play as Isaac and we got a bunch of damage ups already. So I got my charge. So I can go into the fight. That's Guppy's color. Maybe it gives us another heart. I've never actually used it. So I'm thinking let's just one-shot this guy because we can. And because he's probably more difficult than whoever the other boss is. And that is indeed correct. Because this guy I can just kind of keep away from myself. So Guppy's color, I'm not sure what it does, yeah. It adds maybe a heart. Or a life. This teleports us into the devil room, where we get some more red chests. Which is Guppy's paw. And that means that we're a Guppy. We got 3 Guppy items. So now we can fly, and whenever we deal damage to enemies, we spawn flies. But we already spawned flies because we had the mulligan. So now we spawn a ton of flies because those actually stack. Also we get some more pills. Tears down is not very good. This one is health up, which is good. It's a little weird that that health container is empty. I don't think that would happen on Vanilla Isaac. At least we can fill it up immediately. Could have also just used 2 of hearts, and I imagine that would give us a full red heart. So I'm lost, of course, by not having a map here. We get some more money, which we can use on a shop perhaps. So now, with all these flies, our damage is just ridiculous. As you can tell against Chop, because Chop is normally fairly tanky, but he didn't really stand any chance here. So we also have an arcade. Arcades mean that we can get into some funky min-maxing business. It's easier though if you have more than 1 red heart. Instead, let's just go into the shop. And the shop contains hive mind, which we had before, and that's giant spiders and flies. And that's super useful for us because we already have like flies from both the mulligan and from being Guppy. So I'm super happy to get that. I'm not sure what it means that they're giant. I mean, my guess would be that it means that they deal more damage, right? That's sort of the only thing that they do to begin with. And in here we find a beggar, and I'm thinking since we have so many red hearts around, let's play the beggar, because the beggar is probably the best thing in here that we can spend red hearts on. So I'm thinking here at the moment, the strength gives us a full red heart container. And so we could use that to play the beggar, but then on the other hand, I can only take 1 card with me, and strength is probably better than 2 of hearts. So after thinking a little bit about it, I'm thinking let's just use 2 of hearts and put that heart into the beggar. Then it turns out that that's not how the beggar actually works. We need to put the hearts into the blood bank, get a ton of money out, and then we can put that money into the beggar. And the beggar gives us a bunch of consumables, but really I'm out to get some more items here. Hierophant is fantastic though. 2 soul hearts. And yeah, we still cannot put money into or blood into that guy. And we have some red hearts lying around, so we may as well just go back and forth a few times, hopefully get something good. So min-maxing a little bit. Should work. Gives us a key, which we cannot really use for all that much. And I believe I have some more red hearts lying around on the floor. Unfortunately, I don't have the map, so I can't really actually tell if I do or not. Open up that by mistake. Not a huge concern since I have so many keys. So yeah, we do have some red hearts lying around. I'm thinking, is it really worth it to spend all the time it's gonna take to go back to the beggar? I don't know why I don't pick those red hearts up, actually. What am I thinking here? I also don't think we went to the item room yet, so that's also on my to-do list. It would have probably made sense to use Head of Krampus on this room, but I want to make sure that it's charged for the boss fight. Here's both a marked rock and a skeleton that I can blow up at once. Skeletons sometimes contain tarot cards. That's really useful. Again, here, since I can fly, this room is trivial, essentially. It should be impossible to actually take damage. Of course, at this point, my trinket is useless because my trinket just allows me to fly over spikes and creep. But I already can. So this is Proptosis short-range mega tears, which is ridiculous. I think the tears get smaller and smaller, so the closer you are to enemies, the bigger your tears are. And normally, tear size is the same as damage. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I don't one-shot all of these guys, but it's pretty close. So I think this is also a damage up. But my damage is already so good to begin with that it's a little hard to tell. Also, I'm spawning a billion flies already. I think there's a max number of flies that you can have at every single point of the game. Again, here, this doesn't really work. So I'm thinking now I get some more money, and I also have another heart, so why don't we go back and play the beggar a little bit more. I think I cleared the floor at this point, so yeah, I waste another key. So all there's left is really just the boss fight, and to see if we can get something out of the beggar. I put it into the minigame by accident, and I don't even get anything out of it. So there's an HP upgrade, rotten meat. So I'm thinking, okay, I have some extra health right now that I'm probably not gonna really be using anytime soon, but I would put it into the devil beggar. Doesn't really do anything. I could have min-maxed this a little bit more because I realized that I have so much health lying around. And moreover, also I just put this stuff into the donation machine instead of the minigame because it's faster. So, I mean, I could go back and forth a few times, use all the health that I have lying around on the floor, get some more money out of the donation, or the blood bank. And yeah, perhaps I could even get the blood back, which is an HP upgrade, which would have been nice, but it would also take a lot of time going back and forth since I only had 2 heart containers. Maybe if I had like 4 or 5, I would have considered it. So onto the mob fight, see how much damage we deal. So I'm thinking, when should I use Head of Krampus? I'm talking about at this point, but I never even actually get the chance because our flies just completely wreck her. So that's fantastic. We get the negative again. And here's Guppy's Paw. And now I'm considering how to use Guppy's Paw because the order here makes a little bit of a difference. Does it take red hearts then give you soul hearts, or does it take soul hearts then, or sorry, give you soul hearts then take your red hearts? It would make the difference of 1 soul heart in general. I would like to max out my health here, so I decided let's try it out. And it works in the correct order, sort of. It gives you as many soul hearts as possible, so to speak. Which is good to know. It rarely will make a huge difference, but still. We're min-maxing. So on to the womb. So unfortunately, we don't have any way of telling where the boss is. But since we're just destroying everything anyway, it's not really a big problem. So at this point, I'm really just enjoying laying waste upon my enemies. One-shotting Loki there is nice. Could have also used it against Chop, but it doesn't really make any difference. 10 days gone, remember? The balls are inert. So that teleports us into the boss room, or the devil room, where we actually get a chance at buying the Book of Belial. As I was talking about before, Book of Belial is kind of similar to Head of Krampus. It makes every third room quite a bit easier by adding some damage. But I'm thinking, that since our damage is already so big, and I think that Book of Belial just adds damage like numerically to your existing damage value. It's not like it scales the same way that Head of Krampus does. So therefore I conclude let's take Head of Krampus instead, because that's probably better. I mean, since we can one-shot bosses, no matter which bosses they are, that must necessarily be better, right? Not sure why I'm walking back and forth like that. Lack of coffee, perhaps? And in this curse room, we get some spectral spiders. Probably not really worth the help, but I'm thinking let's do it that way because since we have some health lying back here anyway that we couldn't pick up, or that we shouldn't pick up since it would only give us half a heart if we did, why don't we just walk into the curse room? Then unfortunately I walk into the poisonous poop, which is of course ill-advised. At this point I'm a little bit confused about why I have the health that I do, but then I realized that I just walked into the poop. So this room has a lot of rocks. So you would think that it also has a lot of marked rocks. It certainly has the advantage of forcing you into look at all the rocks in the room in case any of them are marked. I don't think I actually find any marked rocks there. Looking around. So remember that we were looking for small white crosses. Maybe they're actually grey on the room. On the rocks. And it seems like there are none of those. Instead we're just moving onwards. So battery is kind of nice actually, because it allows us to clear a room for free. So if I come across a tricky room, I can use the Head of Krampus and still be able to fully charge it before the boss room. So I can use it a little bit more liberally. I don't actually come across any tricky rooms. Yet anyway. I think those weird looking rocks, like the one to the right of me, also contain goodies sometimes when you blow them up. It's probably not worth a single bomb to do so though. Instead we just move on. These guys were a little bit annoying when we met them in the catacombs. Now they're not. Again here I'm thinking, should I use Head of Krampus? Probably not really. Get some even more money. So I'm really hoping that I'll find a donation machine so that I can actually put these money into something. Put this money into something. Would be nice to be able to donate a bit. Still no marked rocks it seems. But 1 billion flies, so that's nice. 1 billion giant flies nonetheless. So I'm thinking Big Fatty is super annoying. He has a ton of health. And we actually only barely managed to one-shot him. Which I should probably not complain about, because one-shotting enemies, like tanky enemies, is really useful. So we take the battery. I actually kind of like that room, because it gives you the choice between walking over spikes to get something, which is nice if you have like Nicalis as we do, or if we can fly, or to use a key to get an item. Now I'm just pondering, should I look for secret rooms, since I have so many bombs? It can't be there. I don't know why I put a bomb there. It's pretty stupid. And there are a few more possibilities for where it could be. It can't be on the left hand side either, because there is also a gap. But it can be both up here. It can't be below us because we were already inside the curse room. So there is a pretty good chance that it would be up here. Gives us some more bombs. Not exactly all that useful. Figured let's try and blow up this guy. Sometimes he gives us something. I'm not even sure what he can actually give you. Sometimes he gives us money. And money is not really useful at this point. But maybe you can get something good out of blowing them up. I know that if you blow up beggars in Vanilla Isaac, you get a better chance at a devil room. And we really want a... well, not on this part, but generally we really want devil rooms. So Mama Gertie, new boss. Interesting new patterns maybe. We never find out because now she's dead. So yeah. At this point I'm thinking we're probably gonna beat the game. I really hope that we get the chance to go down to Sheol, get a chance at dealing with Satan again. In particular because we now have the negative, which potentially makes the Satan fight a little bit different, because that's how the Polaroid works in Vanilla. And I don't really see what can go wrong because we have the goat head. I think maybe at this point I actually look for it. The goat head, yeah, I do. I'm checking my options to see if we have the goat head, just to make sure that we have a decent chance at getting to Sheol. We still need to actually get into the devil room on this work to get into Sheol. If we do beat the heart 10 times, I believe that the Sheol always spawns. But until then, we really need to maximize our own chances. So that means either getting the goat head, super useful, or if we can find Joker cards, that also works. And in general, I think the way it works in Vanilla is that if you take red heart damage on the floor, you're less likely to actually get into the devil room. So Of course, in our case, taking red heart damage is probably not really gonna happen. And blood donation machines doesn't count towards that problem. So for once, actually, we have enough keys to make the key beggar worthwhile. That's the first time in Rebirth, so I'm thinking, let's try that. He gives us a trinket, which doesn't seem all that good. In particular, the trinket is Master of Luck Picking, which I'm not even sure what does. Maybe it means that you don't need as many keys to open rooms, but it's definitely better than Nicalis, which is functionally useless for us at this point. So I'll bring it anyway. I don't think I, during the run, actually check if the Master of Luck Picking does anything for us, so maybe we should keep an eye out for that. And now that I've said that, I'm probably even going to forget it here in post-commentary anyway. Coffee. So that's the easiest room if you have a billion damage ups and Head of Krampus. Also fairly straightforward room right here. What am I doing? I'm not sure. Probably talking about something. So flies are nice because they can fly over rocks, and we can't actually shoot over rocks ourselves at this point. So we can use that efficiently if we want to deal damage to enemies that are on the other side of like a wall. Actually, this is the 25th year anniversary of some other very historically well-known walls becoming functionally useless. This is a super interesting, by the way, that also tells you how much of a backlog I have at this point. This is a super interesting room because we have Jera, which is the thing that doubles everything in a room, and we also have another new thingy, another new rune, which I don't know what does. So I'm thinking let's double everything, because we also have Hierophant, so we get 4 soul hearts this way. And we also have some other good cards in here, like the My Little Unicorn for a room card. So I'm pondering, how should we do this? If we use the strength card, we might even actually lose a soul heart in the process. So I don't want to do that. So first things first, since I can only bring one thing with me down to Shoal, if we do get to Shoal, I want to figure out how this destruction rune works. So I'll take that into the room, try to use it. Seems like it does nothing at all. So I'm a little bit confused about that. But I'm thinking destruction must have something to do with damaging enemies, right? Because what else should destruction mean? So I'm thinking, let's take one of those into our boss fight, and let's just use the chariot cards, the chariot cards on every single room we can before then, to make sure we don't take any stupid damage. So it requires a little bit of going back and forth, but let's see what the destruction rune actually does. Of course, since we're dealing as much damage as we are, probably the destruction rune, if it deals damage, is not actually going to make any difference. Also, we may as well just take this soul heart immediately. We're not gonna be able to come back for it anyway. But I'm thinking, let's try and see if we can figure out what it does. So we use it, and Mom's dead. I don't know if the destruction rune killed her or my flies did, but that was pretty easy. Probably the fastest Mom's Heart boss fight we've had so far, and we do get a chance to go down to Shoal as Isaac, which is fantastic because that's the first time we've done that. Oh, and of course we unlocked a few items just from beating the game as Isaac. We unlocked a fetus in a jar, which is a fantastic item. I might actually do that challenge at some point soon. Demo Man sounds like a bomb-focused challenge, and I like those. So we're back to Shoal, dealing more damage than ever. One thing I like about this run is that I actually know what's going on, kind of. Some of my other overpowered runs, I just got so many items that I simply did not understand what was actually going on. In this run, I feel like I'm still in control, but I'm still just completely overpowered. So Shoal should be easy enough, I'm thinking. I do take some damage there. I should probably use Head of Krampus if I had a bit of foresight. I could have also taken damage there if those guys had gotten a little bit closer, but here I'm thinking, this guy really sucks. He's the guy who shoots unavoidable brimstone shots at you, and apparently there's 2 of him. And he doesn't shoot any unavoidable brimstone shots at me, so I'm thinking maybe it's actually a challenge version of that guy who does that, or just some other guy who looks very similar to him. Also, I should if I had realized that there were 2 bosses in this room, I should have used Head of Krampus sort of in the middle of the room so that I could have killed both of them with 1 shot. Not that it really made a big difference. So I'm thinking this must be the right way, since it's certainly a long way that we've come from our starting room. So I'm a little bit hesitant to actually use Head of Krampus, since we're probably close to the boss, but then it turns out that we're not actually close to the boss. So we just killed 2 Lokis with 1 shot. I think there's a video on YouTube or on the internet somewhere called something similar to that. Not so sure though. Might not actually be about Isaac. Here's the Fallen. Surprisingly easy. We were losing a fair amount of flies here actually. But flies are doing good work. So here's the boss. Here's Satan. Right. So there's no reason to use Head of Krampus on this floor or on this room, obviously. And I'm thinking there's nothing that can make this room any easier, so let's just jump right into it. I put down a bomb, as always. Maybe that deals damage to enemies, except I put the wrong button, so I don't actually put down a bomb. That trick is just never working. I'm thinking Head of Krampus is probably best used on the 2nd phase, because that's where I can ensure that the entirety of the beam will actually hit him. Because if I use it on the hooves on the 3rd phase, I might not actually deal the full damage to them. I think I took 1 piece of damage here, but then we're done. And we unlock Mom's Knife, which is a fantastic item. So I'm very happy that I actually took the time to do this Isaac run here. And yeah. What's going on? There's apparently a new floor after show. And at this point I get super excited because I've never been here before. I had the sort of the expectation that something like this would happen because there's something very similar with the Polaroid in vanilla. But I did not expect this. The so-called dark room. We get 4 red chests for free. Contains a few pills, few soul hearts, bunch of flies, and yeah, and a bunch of luck. It's not like I'll necessarily need more luck for this run because I got so good items. But this is on one hand very, very scary, but also very exciting. So this is kind of like a show room. A bunch of ghosts, very many of them. I think maybe the rooms here are a little bit smaller than ordinary rooms. Might just be because there's no walls that it looks like that. This is of course a very scary room. I just use my my Krampus head. Essentially E. coli, I think that means that if we touch enemies we push them away a little bit, as in we fart. It doesn't seem very good. We had it before without making much use of it. Remote detonator is also pretty useless at this point, and of course Head of Krampus is so good. So 3 chop rooms, I certainly never saw that before. But again, we're like wrecking our enemies completely. Here's a 2 wretched room. Could be difficult, but it's not. I think these are the guys that fire unavoidable brimstone shots, though. So those I'm a little bit scared of, but now they're also dead. So I hope that we at some point will be able to get back here and not be as overpowered as we are right now, because I imagine this floor could be super challenging if you don't have like the right combination of items. It's a little sad here that I only managed to kill one of those guys with my Head of Krampus, but I'll probably do alright. So here's our boss fight. I have no idea who the boss is gonna be at this point, but I'm thinking, okay, some interesting new patterns that we need to learn probably. So I'm thinking, should I search the rest of the floor first? Maybe there's something interesting lying around the dark room. There are so many secrets in this game that I'm thinking, why not? But then I figure we can always go back afterwards. So this is a lamb. Who's now dead. So maybe that was supposed to be a difficult enemy? I have no idea. Maybe, yeah. It's a little dissatisfying that we just completely destroyed what might be one of the end game bosses of the game. But I'm thinking at this point, let's go back and search the rest of the floor. Thankfully, the floor becomes a little bit lighter again here. It would be annoying to do if it was as dark as it just was in the boss fight. Yeah. We get poison bombs. Not all that useful because we don't really use bombs for anything. Also, we just completed the game probably. I'm just thinking, first of all, we're dealing so much damage. Why don't we enjoy that we're so ridiculously powerful? And then move on. Perhaps we will find something interesting. 4 monsters in a single room, that's pretty ridiculous. That was also super easy. Daddy long legs going down. Also, Mask of Infamy being like a single room enemy. That's insane. Mask of Infamy is like the most annoying boss in the game, so... We find this. What the fuck is that? It's like a huge door with a key on it. But it doesn't take keys. And we cannot shoot our way into it. And I'm thinking, what can we actually do here? Are there like any secret rooms maybe? That contain something for us that we can use? So at this point I'm just gonna go crazy, look for secret rooms, look for secrets all over the place. So let me just spoil it immediately. I'm not actually gonna find the answer. And unfortunately... Yeah, actually, maybe not unfortunately, maybe fortunately, I don't actually know what to do. It's a pretty cool effect with the secret room door there. Because the room was not, or like, I mean, the door was not there when we first beat the boss, right? Or sorry, when we first entered the floor. I don't think so anyway. I would have probably noticed. So I'm thinking maybe there is a key somewhere on the floor, but yeah. I don't actually manage to find a key, unfortunately. So I think I'll just end my commentary here. If you want, you can have a look at me blowing up all the various rocks. If not, you can skip forward to the new endings, which are interesting in themselves. But for now, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this run. I certainly did. It's one of the more fun ones that I've completed so far. In particular because we found new bosses and because we're ridiculously powerful. But for now, thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you some other time.